I have dealt with many DUIs in my 9+ years of lawyering, most of them alcohol and illegal drugs, but even I was surprised when I got my first client who was charged with a prescription drug DUI. Yes, you can get a DUI charge from driving under the influence of a prescription drug. However, there is a catch. There's a way to defend these DUIs and a reason you don't need to always worry when taking prescription drugs and driving. Stay tuned for the scoop. Welcome everyone to Joe the Lawyer. I am your host, Attorney Joe Pometto out of Pittsburgh, PA. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. If you really like my content, sign up for my email list in the description below. When you sign up, you will receive a free PDF of what to do when stopped by the police. So please sign up. Now, before we dig into the content, let's do a same time sip. Today, I am drinking hot coffee from Dunkin' Donuts, one of the best donut and coffee places in the world. It tastes better when we sip together. Whatever you're drinking, may it be tea, may it be beer, may it be Coke, may it be water, raise your cup, your glass, cheers with me. Delicious. Now, let's dig into the prescription DUI. So yes, in all 50 states, it's illegal to drive while impaired by a prescription drug, and you can be charged with a DUI. Sound insane? Maybe a little. It sounds crazy because millions and millions of Americans take prescription drugs every day, and doctors barely even warn you. Well, some do. Many drugs do have warnings on them about driving while under the influence, but they don't tell you that you can get a DUI. If a police officer has reasonable suspicion or probable cause, they can pull you over and ask for a blood sample, and poof, you can be on the hook for a DUI from prescription drugs. And this is true and possible whether or not the label on the bottle tells you not to drive. I think one of the issues here is public understanding of the issue. The general public understands you can't drink alcohol excessively and drive, and it totally makes sense. You can get a DUI from cocaine, heroin, and harder drugs. But prescription drugs, come on, what's going on here? A DUI for Xanax, Percocet, shoot, antidepressants and sleeping pills can qualify. But it's not as bad as it may seem. And the reason for that is in the way these laws are written. These prescription DUI laws are written in a slightly different manner than the laws for driving under the influence of alcohol or controlled/illegal substances. This little difference, it makes all the difference in the world. So let's take a look at the law for DWI with illegal/controlled substances, and then the law for prescription drugs. For the alcohol statutes, and most people are aware of this, police will get a reading of your BAC or blood alcohol content level. Alcohol testing is able to parse down the blood alcohol content, and the penalties depend on the levels of alcohol in the blood. But for the subject of this video, we are mainly talking drugs other than alcohol. Alcohol is special. First of all, yes, it is a drug, but it's also the only one with special rules for DUIs. So that topic is for another video. We're here to talk about the difference between prescription and non-prescription drugs, and we're going to be relying mainly on Pennsylvania law. The big difference between an illegal controlled substance DUI and a prescription drug DUI is that for the illegal substances, any amount of the substance in the blood can be considered a per se violation of the law. A per se violation means it does not matter if you feel intoxicated, show signs of impairment, or if you were in an accident while driving on the road. None of those things matter. If you have any level of the drug in your system, you can be prosecuted and convicted of a DUI. This is the law for controlled substances and illegal drugs. Let me give you a quick example for better understanding. Let's say you're driving on a perfectly fine on the road. However, a police officer runs your plate and finds your registration is expired, pulls you over, sees bloodshot eyes, slurred speech, suspects you were under the influence. If he asks and receives a blood test and it comes back positive for heroin, cocaine, or an illegal substance, the officer does not have to show that you or that person was driving in an unsafe manner. Does not have to prove that the person was actually impaired. All the Commonwealth and prosecution needs to show is the controlled substance was in the person's system. Boom. That's enough for conviction. Remember, you drove perfectly fine in this scenario, but since it is a per se violation, any amount in the blood will lead to conviction. Let's take a look at the specific language in this law. Subsection D, controlled substances. An individual may not drive, operate, or be in actual physical control of the movement of a vehicle under any of the following circumstances. 1. There is in the individual's blood any amount of I, Schedule 1 controlled substance as defined in the Act, the Controlled Substance, Drug, Device, and Cosmetic Act. 2 I's, Schedule 2 or Schedule 3 controlled substance as defined in the particular act, which has not been medically prescribed for the individual, or subsection 3 or 3 I's, metabolite of a substance under subparagraph I or 2. Now, you can see here the definition of a controlled substance or what substances are actually controlled can be important. That's a topic for another video. But we all know heroin, cocaine, MDMA, common illegal and party drugs will fall into this category. But look at the key language in D3 from the last part. That which has not been medically prescribed for the individual. Now, this might lead you to believe that you cannot get a DUI for prescription drugs, but you can. There's a catch. There's an extra element the police must show. They must show that you are also actually impaired. So when with controlled or illegal substances, the quality of your driving doesn't matter. But for a substance you are prescribed, it does. Let's take a look at the law on this. D, controlled substances. An individual may not drive, operate, and be in actual physical control of the movement of a vehicle under any of the following circumstances. Subsection 2, the individual is under the influence of a drug or combination of drugs to a degree which impairs the individual's ability to safely drive, operate, or be in actual physical control of the movement of the vehicle. Now, you can clearly see the difference. In our last law, D1, there's no mention of impairs the individual's ability to safely drive. That is because, again, with illegal controlled drugs, the legislature makes prosecution of a DUI easy. It's a per se violation. Any amount in the blood can equal a conviction. However, in order for a prescription drug DUI to be proven, the statute says the prescribed substance must impair the ability to safely drive. This means in order for the police to convict on a prescription drug DUI, they must show actual impairment. So just because the substance is in the person's blood, if it was prescribed, the person is not automatically DUI. The police must also show the person was in fact impaired by the drug to a degree in which they should not be driving or cannot drive safely. Thus, in our first example, if that person was under the influence of heroin, it's an easy conviction for the police. But if the blood results showed Xanax and the individual was properly prescribed Xanax, it's a whole different story. The police may lose that case because they need to prove the extra element of actual impairment, and that's not always easy to do, especially if the person was not swerving, was not in an accident, did not commit any moving violations. Actual impairment is much, much harder to show than a per se violation. Now, this does not leave you completely in the clear. If there are signs of actual impairment, you may be prosecuted for a prescription drug DUI. The most common scenario where I've seen this type of prosecution is when a person gets in an accident and they were driving on sleeping pills. Believe it or not, it happens all the time. One more final question though. Do doctors really leave you out in the cold with these drugs? Well, sort of yes and sort of no. If the levels of the substance in the blood coincide with the expected prescribed usage, this will actually help your lawyer prove you were not actually impaired. Showing a judge or jury that you were using the drug as prescribed is a strong factor in favor of being found not guilty. But abuse of a prescription drug and or actual impairment will help the prosecution prove their case. So if a blood test shows levels of the drug above normal prescribed usage, that will support the argument that the drug is being abused and that the person is actually impaired. Thus, it is vital to take prescription drugs as prescribed in order to remain safely on the road and prevent DUI prosecution. And let me make another thing clear. Always follow the instructions on the bottle of your prescription drugs. But if you do end up driving with prescription drugs in your system, know your rights. No, you are not as boxed in as if you were driving with an illegal substance in your system. Any amount of a controlled or illegal substance will lead to a per se or automatic violation of the DUI laws. But for a prescription drug, the prosecution must also show actual impairment. This is the law in Pennsylvania, but also the law in many other states. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something about DUIs and prescription drugs. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share, and sign up for my email list for a free PDF on what to do when pulled over by the police. Thank you for watching. Joe the Lawyer out.